It is a good day to be alive, a time to always be thankful, and it's a beautiful time. It's a Tuesday morning, and of course, the holidays are almost over. For some, people are still enjoying the holidays, and some people have resumed work. I was watching Obongusori's report talking about individuals who have resumed work at the Secretariat, and believe me, some people are not going to resume till next year, 2026. But we're here, and we're here. We have to keep you informed, which is very important. Like I said, it's a beautiful day. I am Jumai Manzin, and guess what? I am not doing it alone today. I'm doing with someone who, this is our first time co-hosting Global Morning today, and no other person than the beautiful, yes, Priscilla Obasi. How are you doing today?
I'm awesome. I feel very excited, like really excited
Being
to be here.
Yeah. Funny enough, I am too. You know, I thought it was going to be like a Wednesday, women, celebrating women, encouraging women, Women Crush Wednesday, where you celebrate and you look at women as role model. But Tuesday, this is a new thing, and it's exciting though.
It's beautiful.
How are you doing, Priscilla?
I'm awesome.
I'm fine. I want to ask, how was the holiday? How did you spend? No, you were at home.
The holiday is not over.
But the Christmas celebration, let's move on. We're now back to work.
I think this Christmas holiday has been a unique one in the sense that for me, it has not been that something that has really freaked me. I don't know, maybe because I'm at a different phase in my life, having 2 children. I don't know. I don't feel the Christmas fever. I really didn't feel it. Maybe because of the fact that I have toddlers, the responsibilities and all of that.
Yeah.
I feel like it will come. The next year will come with a different feeling. Every year comes with its own feeling.
Yes,
actually.
it does.
But then it's been beautiful. Yes, Christmas chicken, Christmas rice, Christmas chin chin, Christmas juice,
cake.
zobo, cake, all of that. I mean, it's been awesome. And having to take the kids around, having to go to the park, just see people. I mean, it's a season to celebrate people, to love on people. So it's a season of love, and I think I'm feeling the love, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm feeling the love, but I didn't get a Christmas hair. But then, I mean, Christmas is always fun. So
yeah,
this has been beautiful. How about you?
Well, for me, I was at work. You know how it is. You have to work and all of that. That's the job. It comes with the job, but you have to find the balance. For some working mothers in this particular profession in which we're in, you have to find the balance. You will be here. Then you definitely have.
So how was it for you on Christmas Day, going from work back to home? How did your kids take it? How did you have to, still carry them?
That's the thing. That's the thing.
Celebrate.
There's something called scale of preference. So you have to prepare. For me, you have to prepare whatever you're going to make overnight. So automatically, on the 24th, I didn't sleep. So I was awake and all of that. And I have an amazing girl and assistant and all of that who helps in all of these things. So immediately I finished from here, I went home, visitors and all of that. But it's fun. I really enjoyed it. For as much as work took most of the time, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just feel it's not all about just feeling that vibe. It's a time where you have to share, show love, come together. This is the first time I didn't even travel because everyone, everyone will be at home. It's a time where everyone, wherever you are, you come and all of that, and just, bond, very important. And I was speaking to Uyi on Christmas Day that it's not just for family alone. You should extend that hand of fellowship to individuals that you just see. One phone call of how are you today goes a long way. People will tell you so many issues that are happening in Nigeria, a lot, by the way, in 2025. But at the same time, once you call up someone to know how he or she is faring, it goes a long way. It's more than the food that you give. Food is important, yes. Don't get it twisted. But at the same time, that call of how are you doing, checking up on someone, you see someone and you empathetic, that sympathy goes out. It goes a long way, really it does when it comes to issues like that.
I was reflecting recently. Before now, during the Christmas, I would have a broadcast, send messages to people, but I check my phone today and I have a list of unread messages. I'm like, God, what kind of phase of life am I in like this? Because I don't know how people are in this phase of life I'm in, but it's very difficult to really reaching out. And I think this is where people like us need to be reached out to, you know?
Very important.
It's just to say that life is in phases, right? While you are in another phase where you're able to do stuff, another person's in a different phase. So we shouldn't just go misinterpreting each other, right? We should be empathetic, as you say. Know that some things are not intentional. Some people expect that, you didn't reach out to me, you didn't do this to me. No. As much as you can show love, as much as you can be the one to, you know, give, and somehow I believe it comes back to you.
Yes, I like when you said be the one. It means that you should make the first step. You should be bold enough to reach out. It doesn't matter. And for grudges and all of that, it's not needed. Please, let's move on. I don't have the heart for such issues of keeping grudges, malice, and all of that. But let's move on. But of course, 2025 came with a lot of bang, from terrorist attack to kidnappings to a lot of issues, inflation to a lot when it comes to, you know, a lot. Basically it came with a bang, and I hope 2026, for me, I just hope women are included in so many activities. Women inclusion,
as the election draws close.
Exactly. Let's see more women in the forefront. I know in the past some women have done us dirty by misrepresenting us. I don't want to mention name, but at the same time, it's just one egg that spoils the whole crate, they say. But at the same time, people differ. So I'm sure women will want to come more out, because, you know, we make a difference anytime we're there. There's that unique sense of belonging that we bring to the table.
I cannot agree less. I think for me, right, this year, the highlights of this year for me was, you know, the December season actually is the fact that we don't have so much hike in fuel prices.
Oh, yes.
Like we used to have in previous years.
Back in the day.
But then it doesn't mean that the cost of traveling has reduced either.
No, it hasn't.
So it's quite ironic for me. I tried to speak with an expert on this, and he made mention of the fact that, you know, Dangote has said they're going to sell at a lower price.
Yes.
And one would expect that every, you know, station, or when you go to the park, or you try to let's restrict it to the park, because let's not talk about the hike in the air flight and
300K. Don't talk about it.
No, not 500K. Go and return tickets, almost 800K.
Yes, that's one way. I'm talking about one way.
It's crazy. But then the price of the fuel has not reflected in, you know, the transportation.
Food.
The good thing is that it didn't go abnormally up as it usually does, but it didn't come down either. I mean, it is still up compared to what it was last year. When you go to travel, I think you spend almost 80K. And I hear that some parks, you go there and then you book your ticket. Before you come back, somebody has paid double, and then they sell it off, and you're stranded if you have to travel. So sometimes you're in that place, if you have to go, some people have to go and rent hotels, go and book hotels just to make up for the whole.
It's just unfortunate.
It's crazy, and that is how the Nigerian factor always comes
into
play. You know, in all of those things. And we keep saying, the government, you know. We have affordable fuel now. What is stopping fuel prices from coming down? We understand that every business person with his own policy, with their own rates and all of that. But somehow, if we really want to move the nation from point A to B, we need to have the synergy. We need to, you know, ensure that policies that are positive are quick to be implemented. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, of course, you have spoken well. And at the same time, I always tell people that we need a monitoring committee. We don't follow. You just put out policies out there, you put out laws, and you just fold your hands, and nothing happens. And we, the masses, we are the ones that feel the brunt of these issues that are ongoing. For as much as there has been for all of these issues surrounding fuel, but at the same time, you do not feel the impact. There are two major things completely, and they're different. They're on two different sides. For as much as fuel is not as high as it was before, you know, there was a time 2 years ago we bought at the rate of 1,000 plus, but now, although it's just a little bit at all of that, but yet the cost of transportation is still high.
Yes.
It's just unfortunate that is what it is. When you book boat, for instance, from here to Wuse, normally it's 1.5, 1.2 or so. Now you're paying nothing less than 3.5.
Yes.
So you can imagine. And what's the distance from central area to Wuse? You can see as in the masses are still feeling the brunt of this issue. So for as much as Dangote is doing an amazing job, I don't work with Dangote Group, I'm not a spokesperson, but that he wants to make life easy for us. But people beg to differ, monopolizing and all of that. But we're not coming into that now.
Well, just go ahead.
Okay, just you know how it is. For as much as, at least, it's the thought that counts. And I always say, for as much as fuel is not as high as it was before, 700, it's a big deal. It's something good for us to look out for and look to. But yet, we the masses, we are not, their impact is not there. For someone like us who we drive and all of that, you know how we have to, it's easier. But for those that do not have cars and have to go, you have to go into a cab or something, they still pay as high as what they double or triple that same amount. And you just wonder, what is going on? And you just wonder. So we really need, for all of these changes, we need a follow through. You need individuals who will monitor, go to filling stations. It's very important to understand, okay, why is this and why is that? But people say the marketers are the problem. There's so many problems surrounding this issue. But we hope that there's a solution, and this is really nipped in the bud. Yeah. So another pressing issue is, I'm sure you're going to talk about tax today on the program. That's the second discussion of the day. Tax. Everyone is scared. Like, are you going to take like half of my money, or what is going on? If you're going to constitute a contract with the federal government, just know that you're going to pay that tax. It's going to go out of your money. So it's very important that your guest is going to enlighten us today.
I think I'm quite skeptical too around the whole tax topic, and I feel like a lot of Nigerians have not understood it.
Yeah, a lot.
Yes, a lot of us, inclusive, myself inclusive. I kind of understand it, but I think I need someone to break it down. Like, what does it mean? Does it mean that when I transfer my money from my account to another of my account, I'm going to be taxed? Like, we just need to know how it works. And then for those that are salary earners, you tell me that at the end of my at the end of the month I get to pay tax for my salary. You get what? Although I feel like this tax thing has already been in play for a long time.
For a long time,
you go
yes.
to the supermarket and you see
VAT.
You see the VAT. So
exactly,
what is the difference? Like, what is that? Are we going to see a double of what we have been
maybe
seeing?
A chunk of what you're supposed to? Oh my God!
I don't understand it. Like, what have we been paying? I think there was a policy recently saying that from January 2026, we'll start paying 15 naira on every transaction. I'm like, it's not the 15 naira I've been paying.
Exactly.
All this stuff. So what is it about going to be paying 100? They're saying we're going to be paying 100 naira now. Instead of saying 15 naira that we have already been paying. So it looks like they are bringing policies that have already been, and it sounded like it's new, whereas it has not been. It's not new. Are we doing a double of what we have already been doing? That is really what I want to understand. I think we have a professional, an expert in that field today on Global Morning to do justice to that conversation. So viewers, you need to really stay tuned, for that conversation.
I am going to stay glued. I am going to stay glued to be very, very sure, because they say in Pidgin Palace, this is money matter. So we have to concentrate and listen. And of course, in the course of the program, the first discuss of the day, we're going to be talking about resident doctors, the strike in which they are going to embark on, because the memorandum of understanding wasn't signed into play, and the president will be here, will be talking with us on that.
Beautiful.
He will be talking with us on that issue, and let's see what's going on. This is the health sector we're talking about. It's very sensitive.
Very sensitive.
And for these doctors who have decided not to quote and unquote jackpot, who have decided to stay here, who are patriotic, I think they should be given what is due to them.
Well, I don't think it's just in the whole health sector. I think it's general. The whole drama with, employees, people serving their country, people really giving their best to the country. So we always want to narrow it down to the health sector. I think it's all round. I know,
but right now,
when they try to compare themselves with their counterparts around the world, they feel like they are not being, they're not giving what is due them. But I feel like it's across. It's across all sectors.
But
from the education sector to the health sector to the finance. I don't know if I should mention the finance sector, but across all sectors.
But I always say all sectors are important, but we cannot take the fact away from some sectors supersede some. for as much as, let's talk about health now, this is about human life. We should take it very seriously. It's something that has to do with life. A woman can be pregnant. You need a doctor to help you save your baby and yourself. Someone can be sick with malaria if you're not carefully prescribed the right medicine or taking care of the right prescriptions from the doctor to the pharmacy. The individual can actually die as something as simple as malaria. For individuals who go out every day, like you see the motor crash, you need a doctor to actually help you out. So if all sectors are important, don't get me wrong, but there are some who hold more preference than others. You can't take that away.
Absolutely.
And health is something that is very, very important. And I feel when you compare what these doctors earn outside this country to what they earn here, it's very shameful. I would tell you, it's very shameful. The respect and honor in which they get outside the shores of Nigeria compared to what they have here, it's very shameful. And if these individuals have decided to stay on board for the love of Nigeria, for the love of the country, for the love of the individuals here, I think we should do the needful. We shouldn't go back and forth. We've been going back and forth with this since early this year, and there was hope. And then I said something. I read it was it last week, that the memo will be put into play, and I was like, okay, it's not about saying it's going to be put into play. Is there going to be implementation? I hope we won't drag on this issue. And now look at where we are now. But hopefully we'll hear what the president has to say.
Why there is a strike and then you call off without getting what you want, and then you come back again, and then you go off again. Why?
That's because there's a you see, that's when you see, they say your word is bound. As long as they've been contracted to sign that you will implement this. I don't need to still be on the strike and all of that.
So why
You've given your word.
Signed? But we're hearing now that it wasn't signed.
Okay, well, the NARD president will actually come
so
and tell us.
It's still the same issue we're talking about across all sectors. You hear them go on strike, and then after a while they come back and say, okay, we're listening. So why not get what you want before coming back? Because doctors are going to fix appointments with patients. They're going to be hopeful. I missed a doctor's appointment during the last NAD strike because of the whole strike thing that season. And then I'm hopeful that, okay, next week I'm going to go. And then you're telling me another strike. Why not just make me understand that I don't have an alternative in the public health sector? Let me just go to the private health sector so that you don't dash my hopes. I can't understand why they're off and on. And sometimes I feel like this agreement, sometimes it's not really reviewed. They hold on to agreements from years ago, and we're in 2025, going on 2026. You hear them come up with in 2026 saying the agreement we're supposed to sign since 2019. Same thing with the ASU.
Exactly.
So what happens to a 2025 agreement where you get to review? Because sometimes I feel like most of these demands are not current. That is why they are not really addressed. If you supply demands, if you bring demands that are current, that are really tied to the dates, the current realities of today, somehow whoever is reviewing that, and if it is considerate enough, like it's something that is realistic, I just feel like the demands are not really current. That is why they are not always addressed. I really feel so. And it's also same with the ASU strike. So I just hope that all of this is resolved. And thankfully we have the NAD president himself,
coming to
here
address all of these issues.
We get a first-hand information.
Very important. So at this point, let's quickly go on a very quick break. But we have to be inspired because Ramsey Enoch Agbo will be putting us through inspiration. Do not go anywhere. It's Global Morning on Global Television. Stay tuned.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Well, it's another beautiful time today again as we look at you understanding your destiny. How do we understand our destiny? A lot of people have actually mixed it in life because they don't understand their destiny. But I think it's important for us to know that our destinies are different as human beings, but something is common with everyone. It's not how people look at you that matters, but how you look at yourself. So let's get started by letting you know that you need to stop seeing yourself like some inferior or wastable material. You know, you have to stop seeing yourself as some wasteful material. The way you see yourself, all right, determine how far you will go, how you coordinate yourself. As a matter of fact, we live in a world, all right, a generation, as a matter of fact, where many people take everything that happens to them as their destiny. People look at what happened to other people as their destiny. Oh, wow, this situation, this is what this person is going through. And people look at it as, well, that is his destiny, that is her destiny. No, you need to stand your ground and take your destiny, okay, up by yourself. When something bad happens to someone, some people would say, well, that is his or her destiny. But it's not supposed to be so. And the truth is, what you believe determines what you receive. As a matter of fact, this is coming from the seed of destiny, of course. I was going through the devotional and so many things, inspirations begin to come to my mind, and I begin to have a common understanding that people need to see themselves as men and women destined for greatness. Before you can become great, you already conceive it in your heart. You need to believe that every experience is coming for a reason. Your belief affects your experience. You need to know that. So it is actually critical and crucial for you to understand what destiny is all about. It is also important to know what God's plan for your life is. I tell people oftentimes, I said, well, God doesn't ask your neighbor before he bless you, before he helps you achieve your destiny, before he makes you a governor. He don't bother asking your brothers, your sisters, because you are destined to be it. Before he even make you the big man that you are, or wherever you are today, or wherever you are aspiring to be, before you get there, God already knows it, because he knows the end from the beginning. And you don't need to attribute negative things to your destiny, so you can actually fulfill your destiny. But you need to plan it, you need to live it, you need to act it. Now, let's look at what destiny is all about. Destiny is the expected end that God has planned for you, the expected end, that thing you want to achieve. There is a saying that the end justifies the means of everything. So your destiny is the expected end of your life. All right? It is the expected end, not what happens by chance, not what happens by coincidence, not the unexpected negative or tragic things that happens to you. I also want you to know that destiny is what divinity thinks about you, what God thinks about you, what you think about yourself, or the blueprint for you, God's blueprint for you. It is crucial to note that God has no little plan or thought for anyone. So when you want to live your life like someone that God has planned big for. You don't need to think small of yourself, all right? Plan mega things for yourself. Think of yourself being a giant. Whatever you want to do, do enormous things. Venture into it, all right? It doesn't matter whether you tried the first time and you failed. Try it again. They are grand plans for you, okay? It says through so many things will prove to you that what you really want to be, you can become it. You need to work towards it. That is what it means. Now, let us look at what our destiny is. Our destiny, okay, is meant to be something that we look at and we want to achieve. We are created. God creates you so that you can dominate. Our destiny puts us in charge of the affairs of life. Be in charge of the affairs of life. Don't allow the affairs of life, the circumstances of your life dictate how you live your life or how you think. If you really want to achieve your destiny, you need to live above the circumstances around you. All right? And of course, you need to be on top of your game every time. We have the destiny of the eagle. You know about the eagle. The eagle symbolizes so many things. As a matter of fact, they that wait upon what God has destined them to be renew their strength. They mount up with wings like eagle. All right? They run and they are not weary because you have a target. There is a destiny you're pursuing. The meaning of this is that whatever the eagle is among the bird, whenever you see the eagle among the bird, it is what you design yourself to be that you become among men. That's why the eagle is always different when you see it in the midst of other birds. The eagle is the king of the birds, whether you like it or not. The eagle flies 10,000 feet above sea level. How many birds can do that? It carries a weight 3 times its size, moves almost at the speed of a car. That is an eagle we're talking about here, that you are likened unto. It is a symbol of royalty and dignity in many cultures. It's also a symbol of power and authority. It features prominently in the coat of arms of Nigeria, not just Nigeria alone, many nations of the earth. That is the eagle, and that is who you are meant to be. That is what you are meant to emulate if you want to achieve a very colorful destiny. A lot of people want to achieve a very colorful destiny. Beloved, my dear brothers, my dear sisters, everyone watching me right now, you need to stop seeing yourself as a chicken. Stop seeing yourself, as a matter of fact, like some inferior or stable material that doesn't matter. Maybe because of your circumstance, because of your background, because of what people say you are, because of the way people look at you. You must live with the mentality and audacity of an eagle. Tell yourself you are unstoppable. Eagles terrorize other animals. You are meant to take over your territory. Every single person on the face of the earth is destined to become what they want to become. Have you seen the eagle dealing with a snake before? Severally. So you are the one to terrorize the enemies, the people, the men and women around you who are talking you down, who don't want you to amount to anything. You can be a success. You can be a wealthy man, a wealthy woman, a sought after. Remember that you need to stop seeing yourself like someone who is inferior or a wastable material. Do you know what? Let me tell you this. After listening to me, this is what I want you to do. I want you to, from today, start moving with the mentality of an eagle and refuse to be intimidated by anything or anyone or any circumstance. You also need to refuse yourself less than how God sees you, not how human being sees you. Consciously remind yourself of who you are. Speak positively to yourself because you are the seed of success. I know someone has been motivated, someone has been pushed to the fore to achieve whatever you are created to achieve and become what you are destined to become. Congratulations to you. My name is Ramsey Enoch. Have a beautiful day.
As we wrap up the year, we need all the motivation we can get before we cross into the new year. All right, we go straight to the newspaper review segment, and we're starting with the first paper here, which is the Nigerian Tribune. On the first paper, the first story, top corner, it's a local government autonomy. Court grants 774 local councils direct access to UBEC Interventions Fund. That detail is on page 3. Next story, new tax laws will help, not hurt. Airlines Tax Reform Committee. That's coming from the Tax Reform Committee, and you'll find that detail on page 6. Allegations against ex-NMDPRA boss. Dangote 6 January date to appear before ICPC. I don't know. The drama continues between Dangote and our local refineries and their bosses. That detail is right there on page 2. Next story, I never promised to hold PDP for Tinubu. That's coming from Wike, the FCT minister. There's a writer to that says, Turaki-led NWC attacks FCT minister. You find that detail on page 16. The drama continues. Wike versus APC and PDP together.
Exactly.
PDP missing as INEC publishes names of governorship candidates. This is a serious one. We know that one of the existing laws is that INEC does not give a pass to parties that still have crisis. So that's part of the reasons why a lot of PDP members, governors, are defecting to other parties. And we know that this will affect them 2027, but we are hopeful that they will resolve it.
But you heard what PK said. Even if you are defecting, doesn't qualify that you will be
Wike
re-elected.
is not an APC member. He is still a PDP member as far as we're concerned, and he doesn't have such any rights to utter.
I think he's just giving them a heads up. Let's just watch and see how this plays.
Wike is not an APC member. How does he direct?
But he
what
has
happens?
great support.
How does he direct? How is he in charge of what happens in the APC?
But you know how politicians act. They know more than us, so let's just see how it goes.
Well, it is. We'll see how all of this unfolds. Let's go to the next story. This is a sad one. Anthony Joshua stable in hospital. It's good news. After car crash, accident claims 2 lives. This story was trending on the internet yesterday.
Yes, it was.
And it's a sad one, really, where I don't know who to blame. Do we blame our bad roads? What do we blame?
We blame overspeeding.
Overspeeding.
We blame overspeeding, and we blame the fact that you want to overtake. We know we have bad roads in Nigeria. Please, we're not disputing that, and I'm sure the needful will be done soon. But for as much as we understand that we have bad roads, you should take precautionary measures when you ply these bad roads. There are bad roads. You cannot overspeed when you have bad roads. Something drastic can happen. Sometimes it is beyond your control.
Yeah.
So it's very, I do not understand why you should overspeed, overtake, when you know we have bad roads. And you know the end of that result.
Well, sometimes the issues are not just overspeeding because we don't really know the underlying factors.
But that was
Very
what
accident.
the policeman came out to say, due to overspeeding and all of that. But at the same time, but really, we know we have bad roads. Cautions should be taken, like really, Priscilla.
It's a sad one.
It's
May
a
the
very
soul-
sad one.
The souls of the lost souls rest in peace. Troops, the big story. Troops kill 80 terrorists, rescue 34 victims in multi-state operations. There is, I think, about 2 writers to that. NAF airstrikes, flattened bandits, enclave, kill dozens in Zamfara. Why are we having enough airstrike after a U.S. airstrike? Well, there's another writer to that. DSS arrests suspected killers of Cross River medical practitioner Professor Ekanem. That's serious. That detail is on page 4. There was a guest yesterday. He's a cybersecurity expert, a professor, like the first professor of cybersecurity in Nigeria. And he said something. He alleged, I don't know how true that was, but he said there were plans. I think the bandits had their plans on Christmas Day. And that was why the U.S. government struck. So they were underlying plans to disrupt the Christmas activity, to have their own kind of attacks. So somehow that attack was a counterattack. I don't know how true that was, but that's what the professor alleged on global television yesterday. But we thank God that it was a peaceful celebration. We didn't
Yes,
have
it
any
was.
kind of bad news.
No
as we used to
kidnapping.
hear. Yeah, so
Exactly.
far it has been peaceful.
Yes,
and
it has.
we really thank God. Next story. Army confirms US-led strike neutralized Sokoto terror camps. And this is another good news. The detail is on page 3. Finally, on health, mammograms to predict heart disease risk in women. Find that detail on page 28. And those are your headlines for the Nigerian Tribune. We go to the next paper, which is the Vanguard.
All right, now the Vanguard newspaper, and above the nameplate of the Vanguard newspaper, it reads, "When harvest hurts." And on the Vanguard, it says, "Inside Nigeria's cassava crisis through lives of its farmers." And that's on page 19, and we have 4 riders there. And it says, "From planning to panic," and that's from Busari. And it says, "Femi Ajesafe, when theory meets the soil. Benway emptying of the food basket." That's very sad. Nasarawa harvesting makes no sense. And with all of these ongoing, we hope the needful is done pretty soon. Now, the star story on the Vanguard, it says 2026, FG 34 states commit 93 trillion naira to tackle hardship. And that you will see on page 5. And we have 4 riders. And it says to spend 49.39 trillion naira on capital projects, Recurrent gets 43.45 trillion naira. And it says Lagos, Delta, Ogun, Enugu, Imo, Akwa Ibom emerge as top spenders. Ekiti, Yobe, Ondo, Nasarawa, Adamawa are least spenders. Lagos budget higher than entire Northeast zone, 5 Southwest states, okay? And still on the Vanguard newspaper, if you flip over to page 5, it says appointment of judges. 34 nominees fail FJSC's integrity test. Now, that's something that, of course, these are individuals in the front line judges. They're the ones that, so I'm surprised.
So we can't judge them.
We can't judge them. That's funny. Priscilla, you have jokes. Now, on page 10, it says Lagos government to FG, Apapa Bridge, Port Road may collapse soon. Wow. And it says FAAC, 14 trillion naira fuel subsidy savings. Serap sues government FCT minister. And that read you will find on page 10. So you have to go and get yourself a copy to be well abreast. And it says here in Sports Stories, and that's on page 32, Chile's confessions. Tunisia almost made him crazy. And below that it says anatomy of an attack. How U.S. warship launched over a dozen tomahawks against Lakurawa's terrorists. And you will find that read on page 26. And my favorite on the Vanguard is the cartoon story. But you have to go out and get yourself a copy of the Vanguard to be well abreast with the major headlines making rounds. And next is the New Telegraph, and Priscilla will run us through that.
Okay, so on the New Telegraph, first story above the nameplate, federal government suspends 10% withholding tax on aircraft leases. Next, we have CBN. Nigeria's current account surplus falls 41.14% to $3.42 billion. That detail is on page 28. Next story, Rivers workers, pensioners jubilate as Fubara approves 100,000 naira each for Christmas. Well, it's what the jubilation, I mean.
It's the thought that counts, though.
Yeah. Okay, Anthony Joshua escapes death as 2 foreigners die in Ogun auto crash. For me, this is quite sad that we have foreigners
involved
in this. It was really a sad one yesterday.
People who came to see what Nigeria is all about, see how beautiful
Nigeria happens to them. I mean, Tinubu speaks with Joshua's mother, others, after tragic crash. Details on page 5 and 31. May their soul rest in peace. Femi Otedola exists Gerebgu Power sells $750 million majority stake. That detail is on page 28. NMPCL to sell stake in some assets, invites bids, restores Encravos Lagos pipeline to full operations. That detail is on page 28. You might want to buy a stake with the NNPC. Okay, the star story, anti-terrorism fight. U.S. Christmas Day bombing killed many terrorists. You know, we've not really seen the repercussion of that thing. It looks like somehow it's just been silenced. We're just, it's one thing, they want to throw it under the carpet. I don't know who exactly, but there's not so much around that story you get. We just heard that there was a bomb. And then we heard it from Donald Trump himself.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it was when he spoke, everybody now starts to speak, you know, everybody starts to come out. Else, I believe that if he didn't speak, somehow
They've been swept under the
They've
carpet.
been swept under the carpet somehow. I just feel so. And then we are just hearing now that many terrorists were killed. The whole thing is unraveling as the day goes by. But let's see how it all unfolds.
But you know, some Nigerians have a lot of concerns when it comes to this type of intervention, because we've seen other countries like Afghanistan, Iraq, where U.S. actually intervened in issues like this. And I think that's the concern now. For as much as we're happy that the terrorists are being bombed and killed so that we reduce this menace in our society and all of that, but there are major concerns, a lot concerning our sovereignty, concerning our mineral resources, concerning our crude, concerning Nigeria as a nation, a lot of concerns.
Okay, whenever I hear such,
it's really alarming, though.
Whenever I hear that concern, I'm always like, it's okay to be concerned, first of all.
Yes.
But then, how has that mineral resources benefited me and you? Like, I'm not saying we should sell it off. The US has not come to even tell us that they're taking it away. I know our concerns are coming from previous incidences with other countries, but then, we have limestone in Nigeria that is used to produce cement. Our limestone, do you get? We know that there are other countries that get this same Dangote cement. They get it cheaper than even Nigerians. So make it make sense. We have the natural resources, but we don't really benefit from it. They are being sold out to other privileged citizens in the country, and they use it to make money and sell it back to us at an expensive rate. So how have I benefited from my natural resources? How have you benefited from your natural resources? If the US government is coming to say, in short, can you give us a one-third? At this point, I mean, it is that crazy, because until you have lost a loved one in this whole incident, until you have experienced the kidnap, until someone close to you have really experienced it, you will not understand the gravity of the situation. But it is messy, it is bad. I will come across, I go to social media and I see a widow or somebody crying and saying, oh, they took my husband, they killed him, they did this. But it is really sad. People that have experienced this, you don't want to be in their shoes, really. So I don't think it's a conversation around, we shouldn't be having conversations around material things when we're talking about lives.
I know.
Yeah. So they have not come out to say they are taking our resources in the first place.
But those are speculation. And for every rumor, there's an atom of truth in it.
Yes.
For as much as I really appreciate like I always say on the program, like for the intervention of the President Donald Trump, made most of all our governors up on their tippy toes. Everyone is out now to curb insecurity, whether it affects them directly or indirectly. Everyone is on their A game right now. Even military agency organizations, Air Force, Army, the Navy, everyone is on their A game. Everyone is now serious that, hey, this is a very serious, for as much as it's a blessing in disguise, I always say. But we have to put some things into prospects. We have to understand.
Do you think that if the US comes now to offer our government, our leaders money, do you think they would consider you? Like, are we not? Don't we have the Chinese government somehow, you know, in Nigeria doing their stuff? Have they ever considered the citizens? Do you understand? We have people that come to actually take. They're already taking our natural resources as it is. Do you get? So if that conversation is there, it's basically because maybe the US has not officially come out to say it. Maybe because of the fact that they're trying to do it, speculate, you know, allegedly through the back, according to what people are speculating. Exactly. But if they have a proposal, I bet you our leaders will not even look at us. They will take it. They will embrace it. They will enrich their pockets. They wouldn't care about what the common man thinks about it. Do you understand? So that conversation is because the US is coming to say, we don't care about you guys. They have not come to negotiate. They have not come to meet our leaders, to have a conversation. They are coming. So that is why the whole question about sovereignty and everything is there. If they had a dialogue, we would not even know. Do you understand? If they had a conversation about, come and help us, we'll give you this in exchange, you and I would not even know about it. The reason why we're hearing all of this is because they are saying it on their own. They've not had a conversation, a formal conversation, prior to when they said they finally had one, which we don't even know. We've not really seen videos around it. But then we believe, right? We believe. But honestly, we are not in that situation or that position as Nigerians or as a country to start talking about natural resources. I think lives first. I kind of understand every other speculation, but at this point, it will not even come to play if there was a conversation from.
Well, let it just remain as allegations. Just fingers crossed. Let's quickly delve into the newspaper before we start our first discuss of the day. And
okay, we'll go to. We're done with the News Telegraph.
Okay, so let's move over to the Punch.
Okay.
All right, let's move to the Punch newspaper now. Of course, the same story: fatal crash. Tinubu, Atiku, others condole with Joshua. And the writer there says, ex-world boxing champion in stable condition, says Ogun government. And that read you will find on page 46. Now, NNPC writes off 4 trillion naira subsidy, other FG debt. And that's on page 33. Now, beside the nameplate of the Punch newspaper, it reads, tax laws, reps, caucus opposes rollout, court battle begins Wednesday, and that's on page 7. Now, the star story on the Punch newspaper says U.S. airstrikes, DHQ steps up, watch on fleeing terrorists. And the writer says ISR monitoring ISWAP members' movement, retired generals differ over U.S. troops deployment. And on page 3, it says banditry, 8 killed in Kebbi attack, 16 abducted in Zamfara. And on page 33 of the Punch newspaper, it says restoration begins as grid collapse cuts power nationwide. And that's another serious problem. The grid collapse again. We keep going back and forth with this matter. When will it end? Now it says Port Harcourt refinery supplies 3,150 diesel trucks despite shutdown. And that you will find on page 34. Now, on page 3 and 4 on the Punch, it says Ogun man kills stepbrother over 4,000 naira debt.
Ridiculous.
Oh my goodness. Now, PDP draws battle line as Wike attacks Makinde Fubara. And that's on page 19. Please go out and get yourself a copy of the Punch newspaper to be well abreast. And next is The Guardian. Over to you.
On The Guardian, we have first story, lawmakers obedient to join ADC December 31. Details on page 3. Gazette Tax Act illegal, amounts to forgery. That is coming from Atiku, and he's insisting. You find that detail on page 3. Zamfara attack. Tinubu's trip to Europe, UAE, shows lack of empathy, says ADC. There's a picture of David Mark there, and you find a detail on page 3. To the star story. Oversight concerns as assemblies hastily pass 34.63 trillion naira budgets. Details on page 6. State approved 2026 budget. Okay, there's a graph, there's a picture there breaking down the whole budgeting process. And then we have federal government seeks to calm markets as US airstrikes tests sovereignty economy. That detail is on page 3. I thought the Nigerian government has come out to say they are together. It was a collaborative effort. So, okay, we have next story. Airlines, agencies fear low patronage as U.S. visa ban begins January 1st. So there are concerns around why do we have the U.S. so interested in us, and then they are banning visas from Nigeria.
They want us to stay here.
So you don't want to give us...
Stay here. Stay here.
So if they stay here, we'll come and help you.
You feel the brunt of everything. President is no joke.
It's well. So, Tinubu chants won't secure second term, and that is what you talked about. Wike tells Fubara. Okay, the drama continues. Federal government withheld 20 billion naira Ibadan explosion aid over refusal to pay bribe. That's a serious one. You find that detail on page 2. And finally, we have 34 out of 62 lawyers fail integrity test, disqualified from High Court judges race. Those are your headlines for the Guardian newspaper. We'll go to the next paper, which is the Vanguard.
All right, now the Vanguard newspaper, above the nameplate, it says here, Nigeria records $4.6 billion balance of payments surplus in Q3 25. And below that on page 6, it says, assault, Pedro Obaseki narrates ordeal as amnesty. PDP others demand justice. And it says electricity, nationwide blackout as grid collapses. Unfortunate incident there. We keep going back and forth with this grid collapse.
I hope this will not last till New Year.
I hope it doesn't.
Enter the New Year in blackouts.
Places like Lokogoba is a no-go area at this point. It's just unfortunate.
Wow.
Some places, it's just unfortunate. All of these places, Nugbe and all of that, is just unfortunate, really. And of course, on page 25, Femi Otedola sells majority stake in Kagereku Power in $750 million deal. Now, below the nameplate, that's the star story on the Vanguard. It says, PDP crisis, Wike attacks Makinde Fubara. And of course, the writer says, Makinde lied that I am holding PDP for Tinubu. And next is, Fubara has no political structure going to APC. Now, adds government's defection belated. PDP fumes over claims of non-existence of party in Rivers. And of course, that's the star story, and of course the writer underneath. And here it says, horror crash, Anthony Joshua rushed to Duchess Hospital, 2 aides dead. And now the writer says, overspeeding, wrong overtaking, responsible for crash. And that's from the FRSC. Like I told my co-host Priscilla.
Okay.
Now, 2027, I am better prepared to lead Nigeria, and that is from the Labour Party, former Labour Party candidate. Let me not allegedly. Of course, that's Peter Obi there. That's the former presidential candidate of Labour Party, and that's on page 9. And it says anti-terror war after U.S. strikes. NAV pounds Lakurawa base in Zamfara, and that's on page 8. Now here on page 32, 2025 AFCON, Chile expresses doubt over Nawobali Onyeka for Uganda. And basically, that is it on the Vanguard. You have to get yourself a copy. I'm well abreast with issues making rounds. Next, we have the Daily Trust. And quickly, Priscilla, you're next.
Okay, on the Daily Trust, below the nameplate, first story, gunmen kill 2 siblings, abduct 4 others in Gombe. Details on page 3. Gidan Bijimi FCT community, where pregnant women travel 4 kilometers for care. That's really a sad one.
Very sad.
We heard in 2025, going on 2026. Kano governor set to join APC, says his aide. You find that detail on page 11. Star story, USS strikes. Casualties likely in Sokoto. Okay, before finally, fuel price down. Transport fares still up. Part of the things we're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, and 34 lawyers fail integrity test for judges' appointment. New tax regime may push FS beyond 1 million naira. That's coming from Onyema. And finally, we have Wike to Fubara. Supporting Tinubu won't earn you return ticket. I ask again, who made Tinubu Wike the It sounded like the president of Nigeria right now. It's no longer the city.
But he has seen that a lot of these defections are
He's
because.
not the governor of River State.
But he has seen what is going on.
So it's not the people that should determine. It's not his party that should determine
But,
to get the ticket.
but the thing is, these defections, of course, you know why. If it's not going to favor, if we're going to defect, or if I'm going to defect to another party, if it's not going to favor me, I would not do it. So these governors who are defecting from their party to another party, I don't want to mention any names, but you know yourselves when we say defections that have been ongoing. Of course, you know it's something that will be favorable to you.
So
either second term in office,
it's
either
better to defect than to stay in a party and be serving another.
be loyal, stay there, and make a difference.
That's what I'm saying. Wike is not in any position to say this because he has not defected, we know that. But he has not been in the PDP for as long as we know.
But he says he's a card-carrying member of the People's Democratic Party.
I see.
And he's not going anywhere.
Okay, good for him.
Good for him. Funny enough, oh my goodness, I have my own reservations I'm not going to share, but it's fine. And at this point, let's quickly move to the Nation newspaper before we wrap it up on the newspaper review segment. It says, why Akume Alia feud should be settled by president. And that is on page 2 above the nameplate of the Nation. And it says here on page 3, Tinubu in Europe and Ruth Business Summit in Abu Dhabi. And it says 2025 Business Outlook, see sectorial reviews, and that's on page 13 and to 20. Chill challenges Eagles ahead knockout stage, and that's on page 31. And below the nameplate, Makinde Fayose in raw over 50 billion naira federal government's cash support for Ibadan blast victims. Oh, unfortunate. And then the star story here, and above that, there is a rider that says Tinubu's economic reforms developing Nasarawa, says Governor Sule, and that's on page 4. And it says Edum, economy remains stable despite airstrikes in Sokoto. And the rider reads, every effort to safeguard Nigerians is pro-growth, pro-investment. And still on the Nation, NJC shortlist 28 for appointment as Federal High Court judges. And that's basically it on the Nation. Go out and get yourself a copy to be well abreast. And we have, we can take this day, right?
Yeah.
Before we wrap it up quickly.
Okay, so on this day, newspaper, first story above nameplate, we just rushed through. Ojulari, competition in downstream petroleum sector will benefit consumers. I absolutely agree. It will prevent a monopoly. All output hits international. All output hits 1.7 BPD in 2025. Gas rises above 70 CFL day. Okay, comparing company targets 1.8 BPD in 2026, eyes $30 billion investment by 2030. That is a good target. Article warns against forged laws, declares new tax act nullity. Find details on page 28. Tinubu closes 2027 deal with Kano Governor Yusuf, concluding plans to join in ruling APC. Kwankwaso considering option and timing. Okay, nice political strategy, if you ask me. Edun to investors, partner over U.S. strikes. Nigeria not at war. There are some riders to that story. Tinubu departs for Europe. We heard he was in the UAE. Okay, I think we'll just wrap up with that. Those are your headlines for this day newspaper. Get yourself a copy to keep yourself abreast with what's happening in your country.
And before we wrap it up, well, every editorial judgment is the editorial judgment of all the newspapers we have read out to you. It's we did not add or subtract to the newspaper review segment. It's basically the reviews. All of what we've read is the review on the paper. Global Television has no input whatsoever on the paper. Thank you all so much for being a part of the newspaper review segment. Up next is the first discuss of the day. And yes, I will be having the NARD presidents to keep us abreast on what is ongoing concerning the strike. Do not go anywhere. Global Morning continues. Stay tuned.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. You're welcome back, and it's Global Morning on Global Television, and this is the first discuss of the day. Now, the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, has issued a warning that it may resume a nationwide strike after the federal government failed to implement a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, previously signed with the association. Now, the MOU was agreed upon to address doctors' demand following a 29-day industrial action that ended on November 29, 2025. Now, under the agreement, the government was expected to meet key commitments within 4 weeks. But NARD says there has been no substantive progress on implementing the terms. Now, as a result, the association says it is on the brink of a total and indefinite comprehensive strike, which could disrupt healthcare service across Nigeria if agreements are not honored. Now, NARD has called on senior medical professionals and sector leaders to intervene and urge the government to act promptly. I am being joined by the President, Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, Dr. Mohammed Usman Suleiman. And he is joining me. He's all the way in Castina at the moment, but of course, virtually he is with me. Good morning, Dr. Mohammed Usman Suleiman.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for being a part of the program despite your tight schedule and despite me bumping into you. Thank you for being part of the program. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Now, just intimate us, what specific agreements were reached with the federal government that's unfulfilled, prompting these fresh strike threats now?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to Nigerians. If you recall, like you said in your intro,
yes,
we suspended a 29-day strike. That followed a 30-day ultimatum that we added another 7 days at the end of the 30 days. That was preceded by a 2 weeks ultimatum that started from the middle of September. And that was preceded by a strike that lasted less than 48 hours. Where we were trying to press home our demands. This was also preceded by about 2 or 3 ultimata that was given to the federal government, even way back from January and even May earlier this year, and even July. Now, I needed to put this in perspective so that we know that these issues did not start 2 weeks ago, a month ago, or 2 months ago. These are issues of yesteryears and yestermonths. At the end of the 29-day strike, we signed an MOU. Top amongst that was the issue of our 5 members in Lokoja. Now, our viewers need to understand that these doctors that were unjustly terminated from Lokoja were union leaders that were leading union matters for which queries were given to them, and they were made to face panels, and these panels eventually dismissed them or terminated them from service. Now, there's a House of Reps committee report, House of Reps committee on tertiary health institutions that recommended the hospital reabsorb these people back to the hospital. Now, when we started our strike, there was a committee set up by the Ministry of Health that submitted its report within 2 weeks, and that report recommended not just their return to Lokoja, but also recommended that their back pays be paid back to them. Now, we signed in the MOU that the recommendation of this committee will be implemented fully within a period of 2 weeks. This is 2 weeks after that time frame has elapsed.
Okay.
And I remember, in fact, what we're hearing now, with respect to the Lokoja matter, is from the grapevines, we're being told that they will be reinstated. That is not in question. But the reinstatement will not be in Lokoja. Now, here lies in the danger in that. I am a union leader now, leading a national movement on behalf of resident doctors. If my chief medical director decides to give me a query, and I'm made to face a panel, and that panel terminates me, and in the future, NAD comes to say we are going on strike if Suleiman is not reinstated. The federal government can decide we are reinstating him, but instead of coming back to Katana, we will take him back to FMC and Agua. Now, this is a dangerous precedent that we are setting. The Lokoja 5 have to go back to Lokoja. Now, quickly, we talked about promotion and salary arrears. These are promotion arrears from way back 2020. Way back to 2020 that has not been paid. We signed in that MOU that chief executives will make those submissions and the ministry will transmit these submissions to the Ministry of Finance and the Budget Office. As I'm talking to you, chief executives have finished the compilation. It is with the Ministry of Health, but that has not been transmitted to the Minister of Finance. Now, let me remind us that the Minister of Finance has assured us that once these submissions are made, he will give us a payment plan. But up till now, the promotion areas and the salary areas are still with the Ministry of Health. On the matter of specialist allowance, now the ministry, when we engaged the ministry wrote the head of service for clarification. The head of service has clarified because the ministry wants to reintroduce the allowance for resident doctors. And the head of service wrote back the ministry and even went a step further to write Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission. It is for the two establishments, Federal Ministry of Health and the Salaries and Wages Commission, to sit down and work out administratively how they will implement and start paying this allowance. As I'm talking to you, no movement, no motion has happened with respect to that. While we were on strike, there is a professional allowance table that was corrected. And I like telling Nigerians about this. This was an injustice that dated way back to 2019. When minimum wages are adjusted in Nigeria, basic salaries of doctors are adjusted. And then that also adjusts the allowances. Now, from 2019, anytime there's a minimum wage adjustment that affects basic salary, none of our allowances were adjusted. That meant, as at this year, we only get 45 to maybe at most 60% of our actual allowances. Now, this table was released. When you release a table like this and you are entering a new budget year, you're supposed to write the budget office so that it's captured in the budget. You're supposed to write chief executives so that these chief executives will capture it in their personnel budget. Then you are supposed to inform the Accountant General's Office, IPPI specifically, that these are the new allowances to be included in this salary. Today is December 30th. As I'm talking to you, none of that has been done. So we'll come into 2026 and start asking for a previous arrears on this same correction that ought to have been made in 2019.
But I want to ask something. Sorry to interject, Dr. Mohammed. Why do we keep going back and forth with this? Since 2019, 2020, this is 2025, and yet these particular allowances are not made and all of these things encompassed. Why do we keep going back and forth? Why wasn't it trashed and handled at that time, then prolonging all of these issues? Like, I do not get it. My co-host was talking about it, this one, that these are issues from 2019, 2020, and yet if they have not been implemented or signed at that time or followed through, why do we keep going back and forth with this matter?
So let me address it this way. There are numerous agreements signed between the federal government and our association in times past on these particular issues.
Okay.
In times past, before 2022, 2021, we've had a lot of strikes in the health sector. And now decided, let us drop strikes. Let us go with diplomacy, engagements, discussions instead. So for about 2-3 tenures, NAD only engages, reminders, we give ultimatum, we sit down, we sign another agreement, and we move on. Now, what has happened in the last 5 years? What has happened is that our numbers have dwindled from where? Probably around 25,000 resident doctors in the country to less than 10,000 at the federal level today in the country. In fact, far less than 9,000. If you join those in the state and private, maybe we're just about 11,000 resident doctors today in the country. Now, what that means is that our numbers are less, which means more work. More work, less resources because these allowances and arrears are accumulating. There's a hospital that has a 20 months arrears that has not been paid today in Nigeria, and those doctors are still working.
Wow.
So there's burnout. The reward system is
Brain drain.
not appreciated. Brain drain is affecting everything. Now, recently, you would hear that the Ministry of Health is telling Nigerians that the number of people who seek health care services has increased by fourfold, from 10 million in a particular quarter to about 40 million in another quarter. These are patients who are seen by health workers in Nigeria. I'm not going to say just doctors. It is the entirety of the health sector. But what is happening to doctors is happening to other people, which means the work has increased fourfold, even by the admission of the Ministry of Health. And then the reward system keeps getting back and back. Now, there's a collective bargaining agreement that is supposed to sit down and review the salaries and wages and the conditions and terms of service of not just doctors, but the entire health sector. In August, we were told that committee will last 3 weeks. That committee, the activities of that committee was suspended. It has dragged. As I'm talking to you now, we now finally know that that committee will spend at least 6 months working before a new package for healthcare workers and doctors will be presented for implementation. And as I'm talking to you now, we signed in the MOU just about a month ago that this committee will resume its work as soon as possible. That as soon as possible has not arrived because the committee is yet to even commence. Now we're going into 2026.
Yes, we are.
Budgeting has already started, which means by the time we are finishing this in 6 months, whenever it starts, perhaps end of January, February, March, April, it means 2026 will go again. And then other agitations will come. Take a look at house officers, for instance. We have house officers that have not received salary in this year for about 6 months, 1 to 6 months. House officers normally receive their salary 2-3 weeks after every other person has received his salary. That in itself is a problem.
Yes, it
We have
is.
people who are the youngest in the profession who work their bottoms off just to ensure that patients are served. And then some of them have been working for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and they are yet to receive salaries. But the last count I checked, there's about 50 or 60 of them that have this kind of complaint across different hospitals in Nigeria. Even the 25-35% that government has told Nigerians, we have released 50 billion, as if the 50 billion is only for doctors. It's for the entire health sector.
Wow.
Now that 25-35% that is supposed to is an arrears that started accruing 2 years ago, and government paid it. About 40% of resident doctors are yet to receive it. Now we agreed with the conciliation team that the remitter report will be given to us, which it has been given to us. We have worked on it. We have looked at failed payments. We have looked at the omissions. We have submitted it back. There's still money in the account the Ministry of Finance funded for this payment. As I'm talking to you, that payment has not been done.
Unfortunately, so.
And the best time being given to us for that payment is probably middle or end of January. So everything in the MOU signed has stalled. I mean, from the moment we signed that MOU and we walked away, in fact, my phone now lasts the whole day because the battery doesn't run down. Nobody calls again.
So it has been swept under the table.
We can to suspend this strike action, and then everybody went back home to sleep.
Now, Dr. Mohammed, I want to ask a question. I'm sure so many individuals want to ask the same. Now, what does this proposed total and indefinite comprehensive strike entail? And how would it differ from previous strikes, basically, this particular one?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think it's important. It's important because yesterday I received calls from 3 centers across this country. Federal Neuropsychiatry Hospital in Barnawa in Kaduna, Federal Teaching Hospital Ido Ekiti. I can't remember the third. And what was their complaint? Their complaint was that despite a clarification from the Office of the Head of Service on the entry level for doctors being COMMES 3, doctors are being given appointment letters at COMMES 2, which is at least 120 to 150,000 naira less than the actual grade level they are supposed to enter the civil service. And when we complained during the strike, a letter was written to the head of service, who has done her own due diligence from our office and has clarified the issue. What is now lacking is for the Ministry of Health to write these chief executives in these hospitals that this is the entry level that you have to use, and then inform IPPIs when they come for capturing, to capture the appropriate grade level. This has not been done by the Ministry of Health. That now means that people now know that they can lose a grade level, they can lose steps. In the platforms where resident doctors are in Nigeria today, I've been following it up the last 2 weeks. People are talking about protest. People are talking about picketing. People are talking about staying at home. People are talking about resuming the total and indefinite and comprehensive strike action 2.0. In fact, it has been tagged by the NEC, no implementation, no going back. Now, it is not for me or any other person. People can make their submissions, and people are suggesting on different platforms, and people are even writing the National Secretariat. But it is only the National Executive Council that will give out the appropriate strategy of what is to be done. I will take all these suggestions. I mean, these are resident doctors. They are officially communicating the Secretariat, and I'll take it to NEC. NEC will determine whether we will protest, whether we will continue with the strike, or whether we'll even go back home and just tell Nigerians, we have given up, or nothing can be done on this matter. It is the decision of NEC.
Now, looking at this nationwide strike by NARD resident doctors, how would this impact patients? And, we already have a strained healthcare system in Nigeria. How would this impact us as a nation and as a country, really?
In fact, I must commend my colleagues, resident doctors across the country. We get little appreciation from even people in government. We're described as militants, we're described as insignificant or small segment of the health sector. But I can tell you, we do a lot of work. Even by the admission of the statistics by the Federal Ministry of Health, that numbers are increasing. Resident doctors are at the heart of that. We give out our best.
Yes, you do.
Even by giving out our best, what really happens now? You have resident doctors who are tired, who cannot pay school fees, who cannot pay house rents. If I give you my inbox, you will see a lot of those complaints. People have packed their cars; they now walk to the hospitals. So it at some level, you are human. These frustrations will affect you as a human. At some level, these frustrations play in your judgment and decisions when you see complex cases. Nigeria is a complex society that has complex health-related challenges. So people, because of means and resources, come to the hospital very late. So they come with complex cases. You need to be at your best to take decisions to save those lives.
Very true.
So even as it is now, it is not as if the news is rosy. It is just that we are all doing our best to be patriotic, to serve Nigeria. A strike action like this, being viewed from the prism of how it affects patients, is the right question. And I believe it is a moral, it may even be a legal question. But look at it from this perspective. Would we want these tired, fagged out, frustrated, angry, underappreciated,
brain-drained
doctors
exactly
to see our populace?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, recently a VIP, a celebrity had an accident. I mean, when I saw people lost their lives in that accident, when I saw the scene and I saw the pictures, I mean, there's no emergency services. You could see mistakes being done. This is someone who is multiply injured probably and being dragged from all corners. Come to our AIEs. You see a lot of that. Why? Because there are no consumables. We have challenges with small things such as cannula, gloves, syringes, needles, fluids, giving sets. Sometimes these doctors, out of the little they have, even have to buy for patients. So this strike is to put sense into those in authority, with all due respect, that we need to do better. Not just in terms of building structures, no, in terms of putting in the right facilities and in terms of taking care of the welfare of healthcare professionals. It has been neglected for too long. it has absolutely been neglected for too long. So we have to look at it from that context, and I think we have a long way to go. In the 70s and 80s, if you carry a letter from UCH Ibadan that you have worked there and you go to the UK, the fact that you have worked in UCH Ibadan automatically gives you employment.
Very true.
UK. That was how pristine and prestigious healthcare services and the healthcare sector was in Nigeria. What happened?
I must commend doctors, all of you. You all are doing an amazing job, and I believe that what is due to you should be given to you without any hesitation whatsoever. Really, we really appreciate doctors. I do. Doctors, you know, you help in saving lives and all that you do. We really appreciate you. Those of you that didn't jackpot and left us, we really appreciate you all. Now, talking about this particular issue now, what effort has NARD made to engage government before issuing this latest warning? Dr. Mohammed?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, so like I said, what efforts has NARD made to engage the government before issuing this latest warning of this strike action?
Yeah, thank you very much. You must remember that we were at the conciliation table with government before we suspended our strike action earlier.
Yes, you said.
We've submitted communiques. We've visited offices. We have discussed with people in Ministry of Health, in the Ministry of Labour. We have gone to do follow-ups in IPPIS office, in the office of the head of service. In fact, I most particularly commend the Department of State Security Services. We've sat down with them. We've had numerous engagements, reminders. In fact, I can tell you from the day we submitted the strike till date, nothing less than 100 letters has gone out to different offices, agencies, branches, and arms of government. Even politicians, even community leaders, traditional leaders. We have engaged, we have written, we have visited people, we have had conversations. And the conversation is always, okay, we'll talk to them, then we'll now give it a day or two, and then nothing happens. And it's unfortunate, and we have to say it as it is. This is not out of disrespect for anybody. This is simply to state the obvious. It was like, let us cajole these young men, let us sign an agreement, let them go back to work, and then let us continue the business of government. Whenever we can solve their problems, we will. But this time around, NARDites and the NEC members are saying enough is enough. And then they're even calling us out. What are you doing? I mean, I spent over 80 days in Abuja without going back to my family, simply because we needed to sort things out. If I, as a union leader, can stay that long, what stops other people from staying in Abuja to do their job?
All right, Dr. Mohammed, let's talk about internal, or will I say external mediators. What are they currently involved to help prevent the strike from taking place?
Absolutely. There are well-meaning Nigerians. Like I said, the Department of State Security Services, I must commend the DG and his wonderful staff there. I think they have engaged with the true belief that these matters can be solved. And I've highlighted what the issues are. These are issues that one paper will solve. There's no need to drag these issues. I must commend traditional and religious leaders. I must commend the chairman, Senate Committee on Health, Senator Ipalibo Banigo, even during this period, is still reaching out to see that the right things are being done. Honorable Amos Magaji in the House of Reps Committee on Health institutions, I think he's also doing a wonderful. So there are people that are out there trying to even reach out. Now, if you look at it, everything I have said, we have agreed. It is at the level of the Federal Ministry of Health for implementation. So everyone is calling Federal Ministry of Health. And I'm using this opportunity to really call on them. We have very respected senior colleagues that are there. If you look at our media engagements, we don't join issues with them because we give them that sense of respect that they deserve. But we are still using the opportunity to call them out and tell them, let us do what is needful. And we are happy there are mediators who now come in. There are chief medical directors across this country who feel that some of these things need to be solved as soon as possible. And we commend them. And we call on them to continue to engage with government. It is not, you're not just doing it for resident doctors. You're doing it for the generality of the health sector.
Yes,
and eventually, for the sake of the patient that comes to our hospitals. We'll continue to engage. And I mean, on Friday is the National Executive Council meeting. I would think, because the last resolution was that we will resume back the strike if nothing is done as per the MOU. So that resolution still stands. But I'm hopeful going into the National Executive Council meeting on Friday that by the time we submit our report, perhaps more time may be given, perhaps. NEC will say, let us relax, but then perhaps NEC can say, let us resume the strike immediately.
I hope the needful is done. But let me ask you one more question before you go. Now, you're the president, NARD. Now, what long-term solutions do you think NARD believes are necessary to prevent recurring industrial actions in the health sector?
To be honest, if you had asked me this question a few weeks or a few months ago, I would tell you we need to come to the table with sincerity. We need to honor agreements. We need to. No, at this point, I have to tell you the only thing that will stop this kind of things is if the leaders in Nigeria, specifically here, I'm appealing to Mr. President, His Excellency Senator Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu, to declare a state of emergency with respect to the welfare of health workers in Nigeria. I mean, it is that serious. And I think the presidency of this country, the Senate leadership of this country, the House of Reps leadership of this country needs to prioritize the welfare of healthcare workers in Nigeria. Healthcare workers are living in their droves. Just last year, 2024, the statistics showed that over 4,700 doctors left Nigeria. Why am I worried about that? I am worried because it means I have to do more work. It means currently I am doing more work, and it is not sustainable. And if we continue the normal mantra of let us increase access to healthcare, let us build more hospitals, let us increase vaccination access, all those are laudable. I'm proud to be associated with developments and progress like that in Nigeria. But the reality is, we are calling on Mr. President. Mr. President, you have to prioritize the welfare of the health sector in Nigeria. Resident doctors are drowning in work, excess work, with no appropriate remuneration, with arrears and allowances spanning back to 5-10 years. It is not sustainable. And I think the only way we can solve this problem is for Mr. President to really, for lack of a better word, sit up and call everybody to order, including us.
Dr. Mohammed, are you there?
Yes, I'm.
Okay. Well, Dr. Mohammed Usman Suleiman, he is the president of Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors. Thank you for your wheels of knowledge when it comes to this particular issue concerning resident doctors. And I hope the needful is done, because we really appreciate all doctors. We see what you do, and the needful needs to be done, really. Thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed Usman Suleiman, for being a part of the program Global Morning this beautiful Tuesday morning.
Thank you for having me. Enjoy the rest of your week.
You too. Thank you so much. Like Dr. Mohammed said, the needful needs to be done when it comes to resident doctors. Priority needs to be given. Yeah, they do a lot when it comes to issues of health. Thank you all so much for being a part of the first discuss of the day. Up next, the second discuss on Global Morning. Stay tuned. Do not go anywhere. The program continues shortly.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Very good evening and welcome to another exciting edition of Big Talk. Tonight on the program,
As always, it's a pleasure to have you. Join us here on Global Morning. I am Uyi Agbo.
You know how we do it on Teacher Post Extra, bringing you all the
on the desk this evening, we have very topical issues to discuss. And of course,
welcome to your parliamentary program, The Parliament.
Peaceful and joyful home doesn't happen by chance. It is built on
women can rise beyond traditional boundaries to claim their rightful place as
a numerous committee, about more than 12 committees.
Face to Face is a program that comes to you once in a week at about this time where we look into issues and discuss them. It gives you the opportunity to
world leaders in United Nigeria.
Entertainment Circle. And trust me, today you're about to get entertained.
Hello everyone and welcome to the program Talk Sports here on Global Television.
Talk Zone is that platform where we bring young and talented artists.
Stay tuned, stay inspired, stay with Global Television on DSTV channel 365, on Star Times channel 276.
Welcome back. Thank you very much for still being here with us. Now, as the countdown to January 1, 2026, implementation of the Nigerian new tax law continues or will be implemented or draws closer. Many Nigerians are still asking important questions. What exactly is changing and how will this new tax law affect me? I'm sure this is a conversation that everybody wants to have and everybody wants to be part of, because January 1 is just by the corner. To help us unpack this, we have an accountant. Yes, an accountant, a specialist, an expert, joining us this morning on Global Morning, Mr. Johnson Olugbenro, his lead partner at Blueprint and Associates. And he will help us understand or unpack what the new tax law really means, how it affects you. We'll be asking him questions from all of this. Please stay tuned as he joins us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
What is your problem? What's your problem? We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
All right, joining us to talk about the tax law to be implemented starting January 1st is a tax consultant with an expertise, let me call it an expensive experience in policy analysis and taxation in Nigeria. He is the lead, yes, I mentioned that before the break, that he is the lead partner at Blue Line and Associates, a firm that is, deep in all of these issues we're going to discuss right now. And he's none other but Mr. Johnson Olugbenro. You're very welcome to the conversation, sir.
Thank you very much. You did a good job with my name.
Okay, wow. I'm happy I did. Now, sir, with the implementation of the 2026 tax law, just let's call it a week away. Yes, a week away. Yeah, many Nigerians are still unclear about what it actually means to them. We're here to break it down and to answer some of the pressing questions. Now, sir, can you briefly explain the key objectives of the 2026 tax law to us? We'll talk about how it affects us.
All right. Thank you very much, Priska.
Thank you, sir.
Anyways, you're asking me to explain the objective on a lighter note. I'm not a member of the committee. Neither am I a spokesperson for the government. That's on a lighter note, anyways. But from what they have told us and the information that is available on the site and what they have consistently told us, I think by and large, the general objective of this new tax reform is to basically simplify, the taxes. We have a number of issues that we've been dealing with, and it has gone through several stages of improvement. But at some point, when you patch your road, when there's a problem on the road, you patch it today, you patch it tomorrow, it gets to a point where the road needs a complete, you need to replace the road. So what we have done from 2020 to date, through the instrumentality of Finance Act, is that we're trying to patch the road. But after a while, this administration took the bold step that, we can't keep patching the laws, because the problem with the patch is, you patch it here and then another problem develops over there. Like sometimes by trying to take care of one problem, you generate maybe 5-10 other issues. So the administration then decided that let's have a brand new laws. That's one of the things. And I talked about simplification. We also have issues of multiplicity of taxes, where people pay the same taxes at different levels, and sometimes to different authorities. And we're saying, why are our laws operating in silos? We also had instances where there are inconsistent provisions, or even in some other cases, archaic provisions, right, with some of our laws. Many of these laws, many of them 2004, some are even older than that. And from that time to now, a lot has changed, particularly in the digital space, in the digital ecosystem. A lot has changed, but then our law is still very old. Some of the penalties that apply, for breaking certain laws are still very old. And the taxman's hand is tied because the punishment has to be based on what the law stipulates. So these and many more are some of the reasons why there was need for this brand new law. And just to also let you know, we had over 60 taxes, and that's putting it mildly. That is excluding some non-state actors who will probably, will lay you in the middle of nowhere and ask you to pay wheelbarrow tax, pay this tax, pay that tax. So the whole idea is to harmonize all of this law into a single piece of legislation so that there is consistency, there is coherence, and then there is ease of doing business. This is some of the objectives, behind the new tax reforms.
Okay, so you have just given us the objectives that, our leaders had. On your own, if I can ask you personally, what do you think about it? Do you think it's a way forward, or do you think it's a setback?
Oh, certainly it's a way forward.
Okay.
I think this is one thing we all agree on, that is certainly a way forward. Is a departure it's going to be a departure from old practices and archaic practices, and some of these practices that make us to not even have, level playing field, among the League of Nations. So yeah, this is long overdue. We've clamored for this for years, and this administration has to be commended, for taking the bold step. The laws are not perfect. We have our reservations here and there, but by and large, it's an excellent work that they have done.
Okay, so who are those that are most likely to be affected by this tax? Before I ask that question, we have been paying tax. What is new? We go to the supermarket, we see a VAT, somehow that increases whatever it is we're trying to purchase. So what is actually new about this tax? Is it that 2026, what we are experiencing now will be a double, or what exactly are we expected to see?
Thank you for asking this question. Everybody will be affected. Every single Nigerian will be affected because it's a law that applies to all Nigerians, all taxable persons.
Okay.
And by taxable persons, either an individual or a business organization. Okay. And it will affect everybody. Doesn't mean it is going to affect us negatively. I think for the most part, for the most of our population, if anything, is going to be a huge relief, particularly for people, individuals that are in employment, individuals that are earning anything from 100,000 to say 20 million a month.
Okay.
You will realize that they will be better off, or at least not far from where they used to be in most cases.
Okay.
Businesses will also enjoy hugely. Businesses doing transactions up to the volume of 100 million and below are now going to,
be exempted from taxes. Up till now, as of today, the threshold is only 25 million, which means that if you do business transactions above 25 million, you will have some taxes or the other to pay. But going forward from January, any business entity earning 100 million and below will be exempted from all taxes, which is a huge relief and a great departure from what used to be the case. So the whole idea is that businesses now have more disposable income, they have more purchasing power, and it is expected ultimately that that should also impact on the general price levels. Because if you don't have to deal with the burden of tax, unless you are greedy, you don't have any reason, just inflating your sales price, right? So these are some of the things that I expected, from January. However, the rich, those who are earning, businesses that are doing above that threshold, which is 100 million, and individuals who are earning, anything above 20 million, they will pay slightly more. But even them, the increase that they are going to be paying, they will have more to enjoy. They will have a bit more relief here and there, from their business. So by and large, so the rich will pay more, while the poor, we want to let the poor breathe, like our president advised before he got into office, and let the poor breathe. And I think that is exactly what he's doing with this reform.
Okay, tell us.
Perfect piece of legislation, but we can't throw away the child on the bathwater. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Tell us about the personal income tax, because I see that is where it affects non-business people.
Right. Like I said, there has been a major amendment to the personal income tax, and without getting into the jargons of it, like even the computation has changed. What we used to know as consolidated relief allowance is gone. It's now been replaced, with what we call rent relief allowance, which is now going to be 20% of your rent. In any case, not more than 500,000. That's the cap. But then,
please take that again. Can you take that again?
All right. So we have a new relief system, and it's called rent allowance, right? The rent allowance is going to be 20% of your rent, of your annual rent.
Okay.
But in any case, not more than 500,000. So even if you live on Banana Island and your rent is in billions,
okay,
the highest relief you will get, it will not be more than 500,000.
Okay.
Right. And then the tax table has also been revised from what it used to be. So when you earn your income, you deduct things like pension, if you are making contribution to maybe energy, your insurance, and all those statutory deductions, you deduct them first from your salary, and then you also deduct your rent allowance, which is 20% of your annual rent. Then what is now left is what is taxable. So a lot of people get this confused, right? It's not your whole salary that will be taxed. You will still get some statutory deductions that are allowable, for ascertaining your taxable income. Those will still be allowable even in the new regime. Then what is now left is now what is going to be taxed. And the good news is, even from what is left, the first 200,000 is going to, the first 800,000, I beg your pardon, the first 800,000 is going to be at 0%, and the rate goes like that, up to 25%, up to 25%. But like I said, without getting into the technicalities of the computation and all of that, if you are earning 20 million annual income and below as an individual, you will either be paying slightly less, or you may not even have taxes to pay at all, depending on, like, someone earning maybe 1 million, 1.2, they may not even have taxes to pay at the end of the day. People who are doing maybe close to 20 million, they may pay slightly more or slightly less, but they will not feel it in their pocket. So for the majority of the population, for the poor, it's going to be a huge relief going forward from January.
So are we saying that for the poor, when we go to when they go to purchase things from the supermarket, we don't get to see all those VAT, anymore?
No, VAT is different from personal income tax, right? So
okay.
VAT. So now that you brought it up, so there's also so all the taxes were amended, and one of them is personal income tax, one of them is company income tax, withholding tax, and now the value-added tax that you've just mentioned. So for value-added tax, you may still see VAT when you go to stores, depending on the item that you are buying at the store. So what we have done, or what the committee has done cleverly, is to, first of all, identify essentials. That where do the average people put the bulk of their money? One of them is rent, which has been taken care of. Now, the other thing they spend money on are things like healthcare, things like transportation, things like basic food. In fact, that should have been number one on the list. Basic food.
Yeah.
Educational materials, health, and agri too. Some basic agricultural products like fertilizers and all of that. So what the law has cleverly done, the reform, all of these things that I've mentioned, prior to this time, they used to be in a different category for tax purpose. We used to call it the exempt list. So these items were previously VAT exempted, but going forward from January, they are now zero rated. And somebody is thinking, what difference does it make if it's VAT exempted or zero rated?
Yes.
It still means the same. Okay, let me say it again. I said that those essentials that I've mentioned, basic food items, medical supplies, pharmaceutical products, educational materials, and so on and so forth. Those kind of essentials. I said that as of today, because we are still in the current regime, is until January that we will be saying the new era. So as of today, these items were in the VAT exempted list. That is, they are currently VAT exempted. But going forward from January, these items are now zero rated. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot of difference to a layman, but for computation purposes, they are not the same. They are only the same in terms of output VAT. What it means is that you cannot charge. So if you go to pharmacy, you cannot charge VAT, right? If you can't go and buy medication and then the pharmacy says, okay, you have to pay VAT.
Oh, really?
But the problem is the pharmacies could have incurred VAT buying that product.
Yeah.
Before it's available for sale. And ideally, the way VAT system works is that if you have suffered VAT in the cost of production, you should relieve that amount from the VAT that you're supposed to remit to the government. So let's say in buying those medical supplies, the person has suffered maybe VAT up to say 50,000 naira.
Okay.
The problem is because they were in the exempt list and the person cannot charge output VAT. Supposing the person was to charge output VAT, let's say the output VAT is now maybe 100,000. What the person will naturally do is to deduct the 50,000 from the 100,000 that you have to remit to the government, and then you have a net amount of 50,000 to remit. But because the pharmacist cannot charge output VAT on the medications, the 50,000 that he or she has suffered is going to be the final bearer of that burden. So what the pharmacist will then cleverly do, it's okay, no problem. If this medication is supposed to be 100,000, he's going to add the VAT somehow and adjust his sales price so that he can accommodate, the input VAT that he has suffered, but he cannot charge.
Okay.
But going forward, so that is what happens when you are in the exempt list. But going forward, things like that are now zero rated. So what it means is that they are now VATed, but at 0%.
Okay.
It doesn't change anything in terms of the output VAT, because 0 multiplied by anything is still 0. But what it does to the pharmacist is that the pharmacist can now claim the input VAT. So the pharmacist can then go to the Nigerian Revenue Service and says, okay, I have suffered input VAT of 50,000 this month.
Okay.
And once the person can provide the relevant document and proof that the person has suffered that input VAT, then he will get a tax refund from the government.
Oh.
Yes, the person will get a tax refund. So instead of you adding that 50,000 to your selling price, there will not be that pressure. So ultimately, we expect the prices of essential items like fertilizers, even electricity bill, and all of that, we expect it to drop, because the GENCOs, for instance, they don't charge us VAT on electricity that we consume, but they suffer VAT using that electricity. So in the long run, we hope that if anything, and like I said, I'm not a spokesperson for the government, but based on the promises they have made to us, we expect the prices of essential things to also drop significantly in the new year. It may not happen on January 1st, it may not even happen by March 31st, but gradually and slowly over time, we expect that gradual and consistent reduction in the general price level. However, there's a whole lot of misconception out there. What most people know about this new reform is that government bank will start deducting their money from their account, which is very untrue. And there is a lot of misinformation out there, particularly on the social media, because it's a topic that that is trending. Everybody wants to jump on it, including those that have not so much depth about the subject matter. So I think it's just important that we put it in perspective. The law is not perfect. There are things that we wish were done differently, and there are things we are still agitating that if they can be reviewed before the commencement date, it will be great. But by and large, we can't throw away the baby and the bathwater.
Okay, so
it's much better from where we used to be. Yeah, go ahead.
What are those things that you wish can be reviewed?
All right. So what we've, and I'm sure you've also seen in the media space, there's been this allegation and counter allegations. For instance, that some members of the National Assembly are saying some provisions and clauses in the supposedly gazetted versions are inconsistent with what they sent to the president for presidential assent.
Okay.
And it's a major issue. One of them is that we have, for instance, inconsistency in some definitions. So there are 4 pieces of legislation. We have the Nigerian Tax Act, the Nigerian Tax Administration Act, the Joint Revenue Board Act, and the other one. Between the Nigerian Tax Act and the Nigerian Tax Administration Act, for instance, we have seen a number of inconsistencies. For instance, in ascertaining the income tax of a company, if you look at the Chapter 2 of the Nigerian Tax Act, it defines a small company differently from how the Nigerian Tax Administration Act defines a small company. The Nigerian Tax Act, and I'm referencing the gazetted version, the one that is on the work website of the committee. The Nigerian Tax Act defines a small business as one earning a turnover of 50 million and below in a fiscal year, with a total asset value not exceeding 250 million naira. But if you then go to the Nigerian Tax Administration Act, rather than using the word small company, it uses the word small business. And instead of using the 50 million that was quoted in the Nigerian Tax Act, it says 100 million turnover and below. So that's why you see some people come on air and say, okay, what is the threshold for a small company? Is it 100 million? Is it 50 million? They have left off with that confusion. The committee has, however, consistently maintained that is going to be 100 million, that will be the threshold. But the problem is, that is not what was gazetted. So what is gazetted is 50 million. So Nigerians need to know what exactly are they telling us. If it is 50 million, then let it be 50 million across all the act. Because you are now going to create room for, you know, for tax issues. The taxman, if I am a taxman, I will stay with 50 million. I will say 50 million is the threshold because 50 million will suit their own narrative and it will help them to meet their target. The taxpayer will say no. The Nigerian Tax Administration Act says it is 100 million that should be the threshold. And unless government comes and either amend those sections or at least in the immediate through maybe a finance act of some sort, you know, to just provide some clarification to it. There are some other section too, you know, that talks about the powers of the Attorney General and the power of the Minister of Finance. So we've seen a bit of that. So we need to be sure that all the acts are saying the same thing. This is exactly one of the problems that we were trying to solve from the old regime. And now we have transferred that same problem unless the government does something quickly about it, which is the reason why there's even a group of people that are agitating that the commencement date should be suspended or delayed, at least for the first 3 months, so that, you know, government can quickly perfect, you know, some of these inconsistencies so that we don't end up, you know, with issues. And the only person that will benefit from this confusion is the tax person. Because now we will now leave a lot of things at the discretion of the Nigerian Revenue Service. They will now have to be issuing to us circulars to now tell us, you know, what they think we should do. And one problem we have with those circulars is that when the case gets to court, we've seen a lot of instances where the court has ruled that FIRS circular is not superior to the principal legislation. So it's going to leave a lot of room for tax disputes and all of that. And we don't want to start that way. We want to start on a note of clarity, not on a note of confusion. So those are some of the things that I feel the government should quickly look into. You know, they still have a couple of days before the rollout of the new reforms.
Okay, you made mention of something. You said 20% of your rent is not taxed and other things you said. Now, the question is, are we prepared enough for this implementation? Before now, we saw the federal government come out to say that they're going to use the NIN. There's no need for TIN anymore. All of this are just coming, you know, days or weeks before the implementation. Do you think we're well prepared in order to avoid, you know, issues around people being charged or, you know, not being fairness, lack of fairness in the system? Do you think the back ends, you know, have been put in place? All boxes have been checked so that people are not taxed unfairly?
So if I'm going to be sincere with you, I have my hesitations and reservations and fears even. I do not think we are fully ready. But the question then is, I don't even think we'll be ready at the end of 2036 if we don't start.
Okay.
Sometimes it's better to start.
Okay.
And if the government is sincere amendment can be made, gradually. And that was what we saw with Finance Act. When the first version of Finance Act was released, there were a lot of things that it created a fresh set of issues. Then the following year, they issued another Finance Act to address some of the issues in the previous act. And that was why you will notice almost every other year, up until when this administration came on board, every year we always had a new Finance Act. It's because of issues like that. I have seen aspects of it that, in my own opinion, it will be difficult to implement. But I want to leave that to the genius of those who are saddled with that responsibility. It will be my joy that we are able to implement it and that we are able to implement it effectively. But I have my fears going by what we know. And I also hope that the system is ready. The Tax Pro Max, which is the platform for that the companies use to file their returns. I honestly, obviously, this platform is not configured for that, and I am aware that they are working on a different version of that software. I hope that when that new version is introduced, there will be some continuity and synchronization with what we have now. Because what we have seen in the past is that FIRS, when they migrate from one platform to another platform, sometimes your old records, are not automatically migrated. We've even seen that even with Corporate Affairs Commission.
Yes.
I personally know companies that have been filing their annual returns for a number of years, and when they introduce this digital portal, where the online portal where people now file, a lot of the information from when we're doing the paper era were not migrated. So they will now say those companies have not filed, and it created a lot of issues. So I have my fears and reservations there. Even some aspect of the provisions, for instance, in the new year, what the law says is any transaction that is supposed to be vetted and VAT was not paid on that transaction, such transactions will be disallowed for tax purpose. Which means that any transaction you carry out, unless where you are buying an item that is in either the exemption list or the zero-rated list, other than that, if that transaction is supposed to be VATed and VAT has not been paid, you will not be able to use that transaction will not be allowed for tax purpose. What that means is that, let's say you have spent 20 million buying an item, but just simply because VAT is not paid as at that time, when the taxman comes to review your account, he will not allow you, that cost will be disallowed for the purpose of ascertaining your tax liability. But the problem with that is, I'm not sure if the informal sector is ready. There are people who don't have phones up till now. There are people who don't have smartphones. There are people who the unbanked, the uneducated, the informal sector. What that means is that if I have to buy something, just because of fear that I want that transaction to be vetted, rather than me going to that informal sector and buy from Mama Paul or Mommy this, I would rather go to, a store. I would rather go to a store where I can, where I know they can give me proper tax invoice. So we don't know how that will affect the informal sector. I know that the argument is that the government also wants to capture the informal sector. So they are saying everybody will need a tax ID. And just to also respond on to the tax ID thing that you talked about, that was also one area where we had a lot of confusion. Because what we have currently is tax identification number. And the new act have replaced that with tax ID. So people are asking, is the tax ID the same thing as TIN? If I already have my TIN, will I still need to go and get another tax ID? And we have gotten different comments depending on who you ask. For instance, Mr. Oyedele has told us, no, if you already have your tax identification number, you don't need to do anything differently. That will still be useful in the new era. But for those who don't have, they will either use their NIN if they are an individual, or use their registration number if they are a business. But only on Sunday, today is Tuesday, that is just 2 days ago, I saw a publication from FIRS, that was sent on a platform that everybody should now go. So the new platform, so there's a new platform for generating your tax ID. And what we are told to do is to either put your NIN if you are an individual, or put your registration number if you are a business, and then you will then generate a 13-digit number.
So the automatic NIN is no longer a thing right now?
That is what it then implies.
Wow.
Because if NIN is good enough, why do I still have to go to a portal to go and generate
tax ID?
Kind of tax ID? So these are some of the. So I think FIRS, they are the administrator. They are the one who will operationalize many of the provisions. So in their own wisdom, they believe everybody should still get a tax ID. So that means in the new year, unless they now withdraw that publication, in the new year, it means that most of us will still have to go and generate some sort of tax ID. But the process is not difficult. It's not cumbersome.
So if I don't have a tax ID, what happens? What happens to me if I don't have one? Am I exempted from the whole implications from the tax law?
So if you don't have a tax ID, you will not be able to enjoy a lot of benefit. For instance, if you don't have a tax ID and you are a business person, that means people may not buy from you, because if you don't have a tax ID, they can't deduct withholding tax on you and all of that. If you also don't have a tax ID, you may not be able to even operate a bank account. But for those who already have their TIN, I believe that they will not they will not close their account.
So people without tax ID would have their accounts closed. Is that what we're saying?
That is, if currently their account is not already linked to their NIN, and their account is not already linked to the current tax identification number.
That is serious.
I do not believe they will close down any bank account if you have not generated this new 13-digit number. If your account is already linked to the current thing that we have, or is linked to your NIN, or if you're a company, if your ROC number is already there, they will not close your account. What they will just expect you to do in the long run is that, I don't know if you are aware, that there was a time that everyone that had NIN,
yes,
automatically had a BVN. I know this because I have, my sister-in-law was working in one of the commercial banks at the time. Automatically, but I don't know what happened. At some point, they stopped it. Ordinarily, people were not supposed to go and be doing another BVN.
Yes,
they were just supposed to supply their NIN, and then they will use the same record
to generate a BVN.
The BVN for them. But what we saw in practice, it was that people still had to go and be queuing
for BVN.
Several hours, and even in some cases several days in the bank trying to just get a BVN. So I hope that this one will not be like that. But the publication that I saw says that you will need to go and generate a tax ID on the Joint Revenue Board portal using your NIN or your registration number. So we also expect them to come out, FIRS to come out and also make some clarification. And I believe they will do a lot of that in the new year. They're just waiting for January to come. I believe they will roll out.
Are we supposed to wait for January to come before they come out and say all they need to say? I think this is the right time for us to hear whatever it is that needs to be heard. I have two last questions I'm going to close with. The first one is, how about the informal market? You mentioned, about the informal market. Does it mean that when I take my cash and go to buy stuff from the informal market, or a business owner takes his cash and goes to buy cars, does that remove tax? And finally, before I go, how can individual does that remove me paying for tax? Do I have to still pay tax if I get to purchase with my cash instead of transfers and all of that?
Of course, the mode of payment makes no difference. If a transaction is vatable, it's supposed to be vatable. Your mode of payment is either you do a transfer or you give them cash. It makes no difference. If you don't pay at that point, at some point when if you get tax audited, that transaction will be identified, and if they realize that it should have been vetted, at that point they will ask for their money. At that point.
That's serious. Regardless of how the mode I used to purchase that item, who gets to?
Those who think that they will not do transfer, they will do cash, unless they will not report it. And if you don't report it, somehow the cash will have come from somewhere. So it's going to be a bit more difficult for people to hide their income. Even if you hide your income, you say, okay, I will do all my transactions in cash because I don't want it to be, I don't want there to be a trail for this transaction. They will still catch you because you will still go to the store and buy something. So your expense will give you out,
Mr. Johnson, I don't think this time is enough for us to exhaust this conversation. We might still need to bring you. we don't have the time really, but there are lots of questions I still have. I'll still have to bring you, honestly, I will still have to bring you on air to help us understand these things before the new year.
Maybe this time I'll be in the studio live.
Yes, we pray. We pray. We
even have a way we can get direct questions from the viewers at home.
Yes, very important. We look for how to gather all the questions and come here and answer them. But in the meantime, I want to say thank you, sir. Thank you so much for taking your time to come share your knowledge, to come educate us, enlighten us. I, for one, have been enlightened, and I might still have more questions, but I mean, so far, I have been enlightened. Thank you, sir.
We can take our own.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for coming. All right, sir. Okay, we say a very big thank you to Mr. Johnson for coming to share his knowledge. I hope you have been enlightened, really. And like we said, we'll still have this conversation. We'll just go for a quick break. When we return, Global Morning wraps up. Please don't go anywhere.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
What's your problem? We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. All right, you're welcome back from that very quick break. And this is about the time where we wrap it up on the program Global Morning. But the thing is, we've learned a lot when it comes to tax. Really. So they won't take all our monies or what?
Some would have thought that you can bypass the whole tax process by using your cash to pay. But he's saying, our guest is saying that there's a way they can still track it.
Oh my God.
If you want to be somewhere that has, you want to always declare your assets. You want to be able to assess contracts. You must come and show that I have
government policy,
right, exactly. So when you now allow your customers bypass and you don't get to declare whatever it is that you've sold, somehow you are left out.
God.
There's still a way to make it transparent, and everybody, you can't escape. According to what he's saying,
no escape.
And then the funny part is that he's saying there might be a policy to suspend accounts until you have your tax ID that would put Nigerians on their toes to go getting numbers. You know how it gets when they say go and get this, and you go to the banks, you go to the.
It's so annoying.
But we hope this will be virtual. We hope this will be a digital process. Really, that you just pick up your phone, because we're in that time, we're in digital age. You can pick up your phone and get anything done right now. I don't know why they always want to take us behind or take us back, but at this time, at this age, we feel like, I hope that everything will be done digitally, so that people in the comfort of their homes can generate tax IDs and all of that. And then he also mentioned something.
What?
I know our time is up. Last one. Yeah. He said that your rent, when for the personal income tax, for your rent, there will be an allowance. There will be, it will not be taxed, according to what he said.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes, it will not be taxed. So they remove all your daily needs, everything that you are able to get for the day, all you need to keep moving or keep pushing with. Your money for your normal daily runnings and all of that, your rent, your market, your everything. And then from when they finish taking all of that, they now tax the remaining. So the common Nigerian is safe, really. I mean, it's not something.
I hear if you earn above 2 million naira, you'll be taxed, but below all of that, and you have to indicate if it's gifts. 5,000 naira. Indicate gifts or whatever allowance you have to
narration every of your transactions.
Very important.
Else it will be misunderstood.
I think they've actually prepared us for this. When you see those transfers you do, they tell you narrations. I think it's just a way of preparing you that because for some of us, I always skip it. I just send the transfer and I'm done.
But right now, in the year 2026, nobody should skip that at all. Else you're going to be
exactly. Don't skip it at all. And of course, the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, of course, he was on the program and he spoke about no going back when it comes to all the things in the memorandum of understanding that he had, going back and forth with this matter, and they're serious. And please let doctors be given what is due to them. Very important. And at this point, we have to wrap it up on the program Global Morning. Hope you had an amazing time with Priscilla and myself. Priscilla had an amazing time with you.
I did here too.
And of course, all opinions are from our guests, and newspaper, we did not add or subtract to any newspaper reviews. No, Global Television has no impute whatsoever on the papers. And at about this point, have an amazing day ahead. I am Jumai Manson and my amazing co-host.
And I am Priscilla Obasi, wishing you a happy new year in advance and a beautiful day ahead.
Bye-bye.
Bye.